All right, for today we're looking at the response and aftermath of 9/11. You may have this particular sheet, or it might be assigned for homework where you're going to be asked to answer the questions that are here. We may or may not do an artifact search today, not sure. Anyway, what we're going to really do here is just look at some of the changes with regard to 9/11. I only selected a few here. So the first one would be the establishment of a Homeland Security. And the goal of Homeland Security is to, as they say here, prevent terrorist attacks within the United States, reduce the vulnerability of the United States to terrorism, and minimize the damage. So that seems to be the goal here. So if we were to look at the president, we know that the president is able to, put people in positions of power to run various agencies, whether it's the FBI, the CIA, education, and so on. Now we're talking about creating a new organization, a new federal government, department in Homeland Security who has the sole purpose of, you know, uh, dealing with terrorism. What else do we have here? The Patriot Act, October 26, 2001. This is the language passed by Congress that deals with, how we're going to, have the legal authority to deal with terrorism. So the Patriot Act, let's take a look. They have the authority to interpret wire, oral, and electronic communication, which means emails would be on that particular list. Authority to interpret wire, authority to share criminal investigation information. So what does that mean? Let's say, I don't know, the police of whatever town have information. They are allowed to share it, and they want to be able to communicate that information with the FBI, the CIA, whatever it is that they need to prevent any sort of attack. So when you're looking at this, seizure of voicemail pursuant to warrants, subpoenas for records of electronic communication, seems to be a situation where the government now has a legal authority to, look at, pretty much everything and anything. Electronic, what books you're taking out of the library, and so on. They wouldn't be able to do this if they did not have the Patriot Act being passed anyway, which is odd that it's called the Patriot Act because I can't imagine any of this being patriotic. It seems to be a violation of any of those ideas that the founding fathers believed in. Anyway, looking at this particular slide here, just looking at the individuals voting for and against the Patriot Act, and it seemed to be a situation where people definitely wanted to exchange their rights for protection, and that tells a story of what happens during crisis, no different from any other situation. Looking here, we see Mr. Biden is in there. We have Clinton voting yay. All right, let's move on. House votes, there we go. Definitely seems to be a lot of support for the Patriot Act. Again, possibly because of protection. A couple of other items here post 9/11. The duct tape and plastic scare. There was a fear of terrorist attack that led to the duct tape and plastic, where you started to see people using duct tape and plastic to kind of quarantine themselves in their home and prevent any sort of airborne items from getting into their homes. And what prompted this was the anthrax scare, where letters were being mailed with anthrax, and they were being sent to various individuals. And in this particular case, we see one being mailed from Franklin Park, New Jersey, and it is going to a senator's office. So there you go. The anthrax attack definitely was an issue that became problematic. And of course, we have the key suspect involved in the anthrax scare. Threat level. All right, so let's talk a little bit about threat level. This, again, is a product of Homeland Security. You see that agency here. And what they did was they came up with this color-coded chart, and you would see this on the bottom right of the television when you're watching. And I can't imagine it ever, I don't know, I want to say elevated to high. It seemed to always be here. And you can see like the different things that are happening at these particular points that are going to justify it going up. Continue to enjoy your freedoms, participate freely, go on, travel, work, and so on. Continue normal activity. Continue normal activity. Resume normal. There's a different resume. Continue, resume, report suspicious activity. All right. So we kind of get the picture here. Supporting Islam. So here we see Balbir Singh Sodhi, where Sikhs were targeted in the United States for, I guess, being associated with Al Qaeda's interpretation of Islam. If we were to click the links, it would take you to the documentary by PBS, Dream in Doubt. And for the most part, the documentary talks about the hate crimes that occurred, where people looked at individuals and made a judgment about their look, about their religion, about their religious identifiable clothing, and in some cases, individuals were targeted and killed. And that's what this particular story here is about. I do know that they made a documentary recently, somewhere around 2020, looking at this particular case again. It's possibly where that link takes us. Here we see a video clip being released looking at Stroman, and Stroman is this individual, who was the murderer of this individual, Mr. Sodhi. And here they're looking, whether or not this guy's a patriot. So if you're going to argue the guy's a patriot, I just don't know. He didn't. Targeting an innocent civilian doesn't seem to be patriotic. This part, this again is something about what happened post 9/11. Some of the language. Should we bomb the Middle East and turn it into a giant sheet of glass? I've heard, bomb every country that ends in "stan" with the nuke. Afghanistan, Pakistan, any stan you're gonna bomb. That was something that I repeatedly heard closer to 9/11. So that's kind of what you see here. They're just comments on this particular topic here. And you can see people really getting upset. Again, the point here is just looking at some of the aftermath. Another clip that you might want to take a look at, how Americans respond to Muslims. And that's it for today. Some of the, changes, governmental changes after 9/11.